We make decisions every day. Some psychologists say 35,000. Of course, most of the decisions are minor and even subconscious, but others are complex and require research and action. When it comes to those kind of decisions, how are you doing? I work with hundreds of companies, from small businesses to even multi-billion-dollar organizations. And I found some surprising similarities between them. Many organizations and their leaders struggle to make decisions. One executive pushed back on that comment. He said, "Actually, we're pretty good at making decisions." I said, "Well, think about the conference that we just experienced. I was told early on that we'll have a decision by Friday, and I waited 2 weeks to get a response." He said, "Yeah, actually, we do that a lot." And yet most of us would recognize that our success depends largely on our ability to make good decisions and make them fast. Slow decision making, on the other hand, wastes resources, we miss opportunities that are there, and even causes employee disengagement and client disengagement. Today, I want to talk with you about decision making during a crisis. But before we jump in, let me remind you of something that C.K. Prahalad said. He said, "It's not what you know, but how fast you can access the information that other people know, and then act on it." Now let me introduce a decision-making model called the POP-DOC loop. It breaks down decisions into two parts: thinking steps and action steps. POP stands for perceive, orient, and predict. DOC stands for decide, operationalize, and communicate. The first step is perceive. We need to gain a deep understanding for what's actually happening in the midst of this disruption. Observing, gathering information, defining the problem, analyzing the root causes, ultimately perceiving the essence of the disruption. Step 2 is to orient. In this step, we actually reposition ourselves to view the entire problem from a different perspective. From above, below, from other people's viewpoints, and then organizing the information into patterns, understanding cause and effect. Step 3 is predict. This is by far the most challenging of all the steps. Here we have to forecast what we think is likely to happen next. Number 4 is decide. Here we brainstorm options and choose the best course of action. But choose carefully. Peter Senge says, "Today's problems come from yesterday's solutions." I know that probably doesn't help with analysis paralysis, but we do need to understand the problem and then solve it with the best solution. Step 5 is to operationalize. Here we assemble the resources and develop a plan. The final step, of course, communicate. Share the information out with the team and gather input from relevant stakeholders. Afterwards, assess the impact of the decision, and if needed, cycle back and repeat the loop for continuous improvement. If you're like most leaders, you have important decisions to make right now. Choose the one that has already been promised with a delivery date. Decide how much time you need to analyze the problem, schedule a meeting, and then gather people who can help and work the problem. Decision-making is a critical skill. It's one that many people struggle with. For those of us who need a little bit extra help, here's a practical tip. Start by practicing. Practice making decisions with choices that don't have drastic consequences, like what flavor of ice cream to choose, or which new restaurant to try, or should I buy a new cell phone or not? I remember the very first time I bought a cell phone. I went back to the same store 6 days in a row. I couldn't decide. I'm better now. Discipline yourself to make better decisions faster each time. Do the research, consider the options, and make a decision. Fast.